If you are over 60, the nuts sitting in your pantry may be helping you more than you realize, or quietly working against you. And I want to say this right at the beginning, because I know how easy it is to feel overwhelmed by food advice at this stage of life. One day, something is called a superfood. The next day, it is suddenly dangerous. And after a while, you just want to throw up your hands and eat whatever feels simple. I understand that feeling deeply. When I went through my own health changes in my 50s, I learned that the little choices we make over and over again matter more than the dramatic ones we make once. And snacks are one of those little choices. They seem harmless. A handful here, a spoonful there, something easy between meals. But those small habits can affect your energy, your blood sugar, your joints, your heart, even how steady and clear you feel day to day. So today I want to walk you through 4 nuts that can be wonderful additions to your routine after 60, and 4 that are worth being much more careful with. This is not about fear, it is about being informed, listening to your body, and making choices that support strength, clarity, and independence as you get older. Please stay with me to the end, because the final one on the be careful list surprises a lot of people, especially those who think they are making a very healthy choice. Let's begin with the nuts I would much rather see in your kitchen. The first one is almonds. Almonds are one of those foods I come back to again and again, especially for women in midlife and beyond. They are simple, easy to find, and packed with nutrients that support several things many of us are concerned about after 60: bones, digestion, heart health, and healthy aging overall. As we get older, bone health becomes a bigger conversation. That is especially true for women after menopause, when bone loss can happen faster than we expect. Almonds offer calcium and magnesium, and that combination matters. Calcium gets most of the attention, but magnesium helps the body use minerals properly. It is part of the reason I like foods that bring more than one benefit to the table. Almonds also contain vitamin E and healthy fats, which support heart and brain health. And they give you fiber, which many women are not getting enough of. If you deal with constipation, sluggish digestion, or that heavy feeling that comes from not eating enough whole foods, almonds can be a gentle way to add more support. Now, if chewing whole almonds is difficult, that does not mean you have to skip them. Sliced almonds, chopped almonds, or a plain almond butter with no added sugar can all work beautifully. I also like sprinkling sliced almonds over plain yogurt or oatmeal. It makes a simple breakfast feel more satisfying. The second one is walnuts. Walnuts are one of my favorites because they bring something special to the table for the brain and the heart. They contain plant-based omega-3 fats, and that matters more as we age. We talk a lot in this community about inflammation, because inflammation has a way of showing up everywhere. It can show up in achy joints, in cardiovascular health, in how foggy or sharp you feel, even in recovery after poor sleep. Walnuts are also rich and satisfying, so a small amount can go a long way. That is important. We are not talking about eating a giant bowl of nuts while watching television. We are talking about a thoughtful portion that supports your body instead of mindless snacking that leaves you feeling puffy and uncomfortable. I also find that walnuts are one of those foods that make a snack feel more grounding. If you pair a few walnut halves with a piece of fruit, you have something that can carry you through the afternoon without the blood sugar roller coaster that comes from crackers or cookies alone. And a practical note here, keep them fresh. Nuts can go rancid, especially those with delicate oils. If they smell off or taste bitter in a stale way, let them go. The third nut I want to highlight is pistachios. Pistachios are such an underrated choice, and I think part of the reason is that they do not have the glamour of some of the trendier health foods. But they are wonderful. They offer fiber, protein, minerals, and antioxidants, and many people find them easier to chew than harder nuts. I especially like pistachios because they naturally slow you down if you buy them in the shell. And at this age, slowing down around food is not a small thing. When you slow down, you notice how much you are eating. You notice whether you are actually hungry. You notice when you feel satisfied. That alone can change a habit. They are also a more balanced feeling snack for many people. Not too heavy, not too rich, and easy to portion. A modest handful can be enough. And if you struggle with salty packaged snacks, unsalted or lightly salted pistachios can be a much kinder swap for your blood pressure and your overall energy. The fourth one is Brazil nuts. Now, this is where portion size really matters. Brazil nuts are powerful, but more is not better. They are very rich in selenium, and selenium is important for thyroid function and antioxidant support. But because Brazil nuts are so concentrated, you do not need many. In fact, one or two is usually plenty. This is one of those moments where I want you to hear my voice clearly. Please do not take a good food and turn it into an extreme habit. That happens so often. We hear that something is beneficial, and suddenly we think 10 times more must be even better. Our bodies do not work that way. Used wisely, Brazil nuts can be a smart addition. Used carelessly, they can become too much of a good thing. So if you enjoy them, think small, not handfuls. Now let's shift and talk about the nuts I would be more cautious with after 60. The first one is peanuts. I know. This is hard for many people because peanuts are everywhere. They are affordable, familiar, and often tied to comfort foods. But peanuts can be tricky. They are more vulnerable to mold contamination than many people realize, especially if they have been poorly stored. They also tend to show up in highly processed forms: sugary peanut butter, salty snack mixes, bars with long ingredient lists, and products made with added oils. So my concern is not just the peanut itself. It is the whole package that usually comes with it. Extra sodium, extra sugar, damaged oils, additives, mindless overeating. That combination is not doing most older adults any favors. If you enjoy peanuts occasionally, that is one thing. But if peanut products are a daily habit, it may be worth stepping back and asking whether that habit is supporting your body or just filling a convenient role in your routine. The second one is cashews. Cashews are creamy and delicious, and that is exactly why they are so easy to overeat. They also tend to be higher in carbohydrates than many other nuts, which may matter if you are working on blood sugar balance. And many packaged cashews are roasted in oil and heavily salted, which again changes the picture. This does not mean cashews are evil. I do not talk that way about food. But they may not be the best everyday nut for someone dealing with insulin resistance, diabetes, water retention, or blood pressure concerns. And if you are someone who notices that rich foods leave you feeling inflamed or puffy, cashews may be one to watch. Sometimes the healthiest shift is not dramatic. It is simply replacing the nut you always reach for with one that serves you better. The third one is macadamia nuts. Macadamias are rich, buttery, and very easy to romanticize because they feel luxurious. But they are extremely calorie dense, and for many people, they are not very satisfying in proportion to how much they add up. It is easy to eat several handfuls without feeling like you have really eaten much, and that can quietly work against weight management. At this stage of life, many women are already dealing with changes in metabolism, body composition, and appetite signals. So foods that are very dense and easy to overdo deserve a little extra thought. Macadamias are not automatically off limits, but I would not put them in the best everyday choice category. They are more of an occasional food in my mind, especially if you are trying to support heart health, maintain a healthy weight, or manage digestive comfort. And finally, pine nuts. This one surprises people because pine nuts sound so elegant and wholesome. They show up in pesto, salads, and all sorts of foods that look very clean and healthy. But some people experience a strange bitter or metallic taste after eating them, and that can interfere with appetite for days. That may sound minor, but for older adults, appetite changes matter. If eating becomes less appealing, it becomes easier to undereat protein, undereat calories, and lose weight in ways that do not help you stay strong. That matters even more if you are already struggling with muscle loss, low appetite, illness recovery, or medications that affect taste. Pine nuts also spoil easily, and because they are often used in prepared foods, you may not always know how fresh they are. So again, this is not about panic, it is about awareness. Now, before we finish, I want to say something I think is more important than any list. No single food decides your future. Not almonds, not peanuts, not the one perfect nut or the one bad nut. Your health is built in patterns, in what you do most of the time, in whether your meals contain real nourishment, in whether you move your body, in whether you sleep, in whether your stress is always running the show, in whether you feel connected to yourself and supported in this season of life. Food advice becomes harmful when it makes women feel afraid instead of empowered. That is never my goal here. My goal is to help you become a little more discerning, a little more intentional, and a lot more compassionate with yourself. So if I were keeping this very simple, here is what I would say. Keep almonds, walnuts, pistachios, and Brazil nuts on your radar with sensible portions and good quality in mind. Be more cautious with peanuts, cashews, macadamias, and pine nuts, especially if they are processed, salted, stale, or showing up as an everyday habit rather than an occasional choice. And most importantly, pay attention to how you feel. Do certain nuts leave you energized and satisfied? Do others make you feel bloated, achy, overly full, or strangely hungry for more? Your body gives you feedback all the time. The older I get, the more I trust that wisdom. You have spent your whole life caring for others. It is time to care for yourself with the same love and attention. That includes the very ordinary things in your pantry, because ordinary things shape ordinary days, and ordinary days shape a life. Age is just the beginning. Vibrant does not have an age limit, and you are not too old, too late, or too far gone to start making supportive changes now. Take what helps, leave what does not, and please remember that small choices practiced consistently are powerful. If this conversation stirred something in you, let that be a good thing. Let it be a reminder that your health still deserves your attention, your curiosity, and your care. And above all, be gentle with yourself as you learn. That gentleness is not weakness, it is wisdom.